Welcome everyone to day one at Salgueiros, a small suburb of Porto. In this save we're starting from the very bottom and trying to get to the very top. Right, I have done a video previously on the backstory of this save. It's just there, so take a look at that. But the goals of the save in a heartbeat is this. So we're starting low in the Portuguese leagues. We're going to rise through the leagues. We are going to sell players when clauses are hit, like Enzo Fernandez got sold to Chelsea. Think of that sort of vibe. We're going to replace these players with youth team players or scouted players, and these scouted players will have a big influence on South America. We're going to have a good look around there. The long-term goal is to become bigger than local rivals Porto, and the big goal, the possibly unachievable goal, is to have a net transfer profit of £1 billion by the end of the save. Now that's going to be tough, and it'll take a few years. So this is C Salgueiros, and this is day one on the job. So this first episode is all about day one at the job, at your club as well, so you can play along with whatever you're doing. So what do we do? Where do we go? How do we negotiate all this? So first things first, let's see what's expected of us. So if we go to the league table, so this level of Portugal is split into 4 leagues, 14 teams in each. Very, very tough. Now we're expected, if we go to season preview, to be in the upper echelons. There's 8th place, so you think 8th out of all those teams competing, we are one of the better teams. Now the first win is our finance situation. We are actually in profit, 139,000. But if we take a look over at the transfer budgets, we're actually spending too much on wages already. That could lead to trouble. Next up, I have a look at my staffing. Now we can see I've got 7 in the coaching staff, which is pretty good. I've actually got too many coaches, but hopefully the board will not recognise that and we can just slyly go on. No set piece coach, which could be a problem. We need to get ourselves some analysts. But if you look at the team comparison in coaching for the league, we're actually not bad. We're the highest in a couple of areas there, so I'm pretty happy with that. Recruitment team, we're going to have to get ourselves a chief scout. It's going to be super important, but at this level, not as much, although we are the best in our little area. Medical team, it's a shambles. We need to bulk that up. Now it's time for probably the most important thing, is to assess our squad. Now it's a good size. I'm not going to go through all the players, but what I will show you is what I do on day one, especially at this level. It's all about attributes and what type of player I'm going to get, and this is how I go about it. Okay, so if I'm taking charge of a team, the first thing I'm going to look at is attribute levels for key attributes. And if I'm in the top division, so think of your Premier League, or in this case in Portugal, Liga NOS, I want my key attributes on my key players to be somewhere between 16 and 20. One level below that, I'm looking between areas of 13 to 15. Down again, this time I'm going to be a bit more realistic. I'm looking for key attributes in the 11 to 14 range. Now to the 4th tier, it drops again, 10 to 13. That's what we're looking for here. And the final one would be non-league teams or lower down, so 5th level downwards, lower league, attribute levels of 9+ is a bit of a bonus at this level because they're pretty poor. So for us in our journey, I would say we're going to look for that 4th level of 10 to 13 for the key attribute ranges for our squad. Now when it comes to the squad, I will add that I'm not going to make any transfers for the first season for 2 reasons. The first reason is I want to keep it realistic and give the boys at the club a chance. We are lower level and they seem like they're a good team. Predictions are high, so let's stick with them. But because we're playing the real world format of the game, we have transfers pending coming in. If you look down here, I've got a good set of players here, maybe up to 10, 11 players on their way in a month or so's time. So they're going to be my transfers. I'm not going to make any. But I will say, if you're doing a save from day one, it's up to you what you do, whether you bring players in or out. But when I'm doing a lower level team and rising to the top, I like to take the first season, unless I've got no players. Then I'll bring someone in. But if it's the first season, I like to stick with the squad. And then by January, see if we need to bring anybody in. So now knowing we're working in that 10 to 13 range for our key attributes, for our key players and positions, I now can assess my squad. And we'll probably do it using the filters. I like to work back to front, specifically from defenders upwards. Now if we look at the centre-backs, I don't actually have a lot, but we'll start there. So using one of my custom views for centre-backs, I've got all the key attributes for centre-backs. And remember that 10 to 13 range. Now this is all the players selected, so we'll take all the players that don't count out of the equation by going over to filter, dropping that down, deselecting all positions, and just selecting defenders. And you can see we don't have a lot of centre-backs currently at the club. I say currently because don't forget we do have players coming in, and look, by the looks of this, I've got 5 players, defenders, coming in. Now at this level, I like to break that down even further to just 3 or 4 key attributes for the centre-backs. And they are the following: positioning, concentration and decisions. That's what I'm looking for my centre-backs from this level. So hopefully getting those in that 10 to 13 range will hold us in good stead. So early signs here that Pex is obviously the standout centre-back and has a great name as well. Now, if you look at these attributes across the board, pretty consistent in that 10 to 13 range. Some of them even exceeding that, such as the marking and the strength. Really good. But he's also lacking a little bit in some areas too. If you look at his concentration, it's on the borderline, isn't it? He's 6'4" though. At this level, he looks a decent option. However, the backup to that, Correa here, definitely is not a centre-back to me. Looks more like a full-back, something like that. So hopefully the new players who come in will rise up. So I'm going to do that technique for all positions. So think wing-backs, central midfielders, strikers, the lot. I'll show you a couple now. I won't go through all of them, but we will get to some standout players that are going to be vital for this first season. For example, I do plan to use some aggressive wing-backs. If we take Correa out of it, I'm not sure he's going to be good enough for us. If we look at Tentugal and Pedro Vieira here, they're looking pretty promising. Definitely in that range and exceeding it in a lot of it as well. As a footnote, these are the key attributes I'm looking for. 4 standouts for my full or wing backs. Decisions is going to be lacking a bit because these guys look like they're more determined to go forward, so that could be an area of concern, but the rest of it, I'm pretty happy with them. Do that with all roles and positions. You can see here we've got workhorses in midfield, so your defensive midfielders, the more creative players, and wingers and strikers. So now I've got a good idea of what I've got to work with, and I had tactics in mind, but there's been a few curveballs brought up by 1 or 2 of the players. Let me show you. Ladies and gents, this is Diego Valente, 38-year-old, and he is the standout player because his attributes across the board are just better than everybody else's. Obviously being 38, his physicals are starting to lack. But the curveball it's thrown me is I was dead set on playing a 4-4-2. If you look like someone like him, I need to get him in the team somewhere. Alongside him, we've got some pretty solid players, including Rodrigo Lima, who looks like he'll be a mainstay in central midfield. Good all-round attributes. Really like the look of the wing-back in João Tentugal. He looks like a good all-rounder. In fact, his favourite role is complete wing-back. Pedro Vieira also wants to play there, but he can also play on the other side, which brings in the option of an inverted wing-back, even at this level. And I expect goals from Jean-Pierre Zapata. Not even good enough to have a face in the game look, but if I look at his key attributes for goal-scoring strikers, his overall attributes might not look anything special, but the key ones are definitely there. So we've got a good sized squad. It needs a bit more levelling out with regards to centre-backs, but as I look through the squad, we'll get to know them all as the save progresses. What about this lad? Chocolate is his set name. I need to know more. So the tactic time, I was going to create a 4-4-2. I was going to go pretty basic and have a pretty flexible 4-4-2 which could move roles around. The curveball has been our 38-year-old general. Where am I going to get him in the team? So if I was going to go basic and start from a clean slate of 4-4-2, he likes to play on the left-hand side. In fact, let's put him in the team. There he is, Valente, Diego Valente. Remember, he's going to be key. His attributes are ridiculous. He's got flair of 14. His passing's good. His crossing is out of this world for this level at 15. I need to use him. But he's not an out-and-out winger, is he? Because he's got no acceleration and no pace. He's definitely a playmaker. So in this formation, what do we do with him? Do I go a bit asymmetric, push him up and let him be an advanced playmaker in there? Or the fact that he's 38, do we start this way and when he tires, bring on one of the younger pacey lads to play more like a traditional winger? Up front, I'm well set. There's a good option for 2 up front. If we look at Vitor Andrade here, he's a big boy. He's 6'3", so we've got a target man if needed with decent heading, jumping, reach and strength. Same goes for Nilo, a 30-year-old Brazilian. Again, big guy, not the great in the air though, so you have to be a different type of player. But what I don't like is he's off the ball and his composure. But remember, we're in the real world, so we've got all these players to come now. I've had a quick scan through and there is some definite players who will go straight in the team. Let me show you them. It is Mateus Brito. He's a centre-back or midfielder about to join, and I just can't help the feeling. I can't shake the feeling that he could be a very good libero at this level. Dare I play a libero at this level? Duarte is going to come in at left back. He's a natural left footer. He's got good forward abilities. He could combine really well with our playmaker. He could do the winger work while our playmaker just floats around. And I'm really delighted about this one. Remember what we talked about South America? Well, Marcos Caballero is on his way in. Striker, good acceleration, great pace, natural fitness, finishing, composure, off the ball, technique. He starts. So option 1, which we're going to test in friendlies, is here. Now you'll notice I've got Valente, our playmaker, our 38-year-old ring general, as a wide midfielder on attack. Why have I used that? Because it's basically a blank template. I can add in absolutely everything here to make him into like whatever position I want him to be. And I've basically given him free rights to be our main creative hub in the team. We're going to see if that works. Plan B, if it doesn't quite work with him, we're going to shift him up front to give him a bit of a free roll up there. We'll have a traditional winger on one side, and we will use Mr. Pedro Vieira in here as an inverted wing back to jump into that pivot, which will release our central midfielder to bomb on. That's plan B. Now, I've done a bit of work on the set pieces, not as much as I'd like to. We'll kind of grow into that as the save goes on, but we've got some basic routines rocking. For now, what I think I'll do is play a few friendlies and wait for this raft of players to come in, and then we'll know what we're working with for this season and see how the friendlies are looking like. The final thing we need to talk about is the facilities. We're in a small suburb of Porto, and the capacity is an all-seater, but it's only 1,100. So we're going to have to work with that for a while. The training facilities are average, the youth facilities are below average. Need to work on that because we might need players from that, especially early days. Average academy coaching and basic youth recruitment. Pre-season was pretty solid and the team started to link up well, getting used to the new system that we've put in place. So with one more friendly to go, the team are banging goals in left, right and centre, but we're conceding a few as well. We're not quite there, but we're getting there. At the minute, I've got 3 versions of a 4-4-2. The last one is the most crazy, most experimental, if you like, with that libero. That's only in extreme circumstances. The ones we're going to go with are probably the basic ones to try and get us out of these leagues. These are the leagues. We'll try and get to grips with the rules of each league when we get there, presuming it's some sort of big, mad playoff. How are we going to go? These boys are the ones that are going to lead the charge. Okay, how about a mid-season update? Needless to say, that man has been vital, just like we thought he would have been. Let me take you to the first game of the season. One of the first kicks, 36 minutes gone. That gave us a lovely 3-0 away win on our first game of the season. Game 2, second game of the season, first home game. He did it again. Twice. I love him. There he is. He's 39 now. He's had a birthday, so he's even older. But this season he's got 15 appearances, 5 assists, 4 goals, and I think all of those have been from free kicks. He's a marvel at this level. Tactic-wise, we settled on that 4-4-2, didn't we? But we've been all over the place. I've used so many alternate versions of the 4-4-2. It's crazy. Things have gone really well in the league. We're now on a little run as well of about 8 games undefeated. After 15 matches, we find ourselves top of the league. It's been a right battle, though, playing in comprehensive highlights to make the adjustments. Now, alongside Valente, Abel Joshua here has been key. In fact, he's the only guy that I've managed to get onto a contract past this season. He's got another 3-year deal because I think he's going to be a sellable asset. And he's bagged 5 assists from central midfield. So the tactic that's got us on this 8-match unbeaten streak has led to us attacking like this. So you've got the 2 defenders, 2 pivot, and we've got 5 across the front. I love it. It's working really nicely. If I show you the tactic, you'll wonder how it's been happening. So take that away, and that is the tactic there. It's a version of a 4-4-2, but we've still got our man Valente over there. He's got to do whatever he wants in this setup. But the shadow striker comes in, and the deep line forward drops back. And you will notice that the central midfielder on attack is right behind the shadow striker. Now, in old versions of FM, you might think that these two would end up getting in each other's way. But in FM24, the intelligence and the player movement, the player positioning is such that when Abel moves forward like that, Mosquito, as I've lovingly started calling him, Mosquito, naturally moves over there like that and he sits in there. I'll show you this clip and it shows it to perfection. But don't get in each other's way, then move out of the way. Okay, so we've just won the ball back, so Mosquito's there and Abel's there. Now they're in that same zone there, aren't they? Same area of the pitch. But when we get further forward, you'll see the difference that they make. So as they carry on, Abel moves into that central midfield attack right kind of position. And Mosquito, knowing that he's there, he's starting to move in the complete other direction. We get the ball back. He's seen him. See that little wave he did? I'm enjoying that. Let's get that back up. But now look at him moving across, and now he finds himself in the AMCL position. So he's moved all the way across. In previous editions of FM, he'd probably stay over where Abel Joshua is there, but he's moving across. He loses the ball, but there you can see there's a free in line there. That's what I wanted. This is all the same attack, by the way. Rodrigo picks it up, and you can still see them both up there. Abel there, Mosquito there. So remember, Mosquito's start position is where Abel is, but because Abel's moved over there, he's now moved across. This is what I love about this version of FM. There he is, in a complete different position than you set him in, because he's got the intelligence to move into that position. You can see this movement here. We're working it, we're working it. Zhao to Manga. Now over on that far side, it goes to the winger. And this shows it the best. Mosquito now in the AMCL spot. If he was where he was normally going to be is where Abel is. But because he's in that new AMCL spot, he gets on the end of the cross and bags it. So that's going to give you a whole new way of setting up your tactic. In play, my tactic looks a bit like this, like we saw from the screenshot. We've got these guys coming up like this. We've got Vieira pushing up. It looks a bit like that when we've got the ball and we're high up. We've got 5 of them up there. But in reality, we set up like that and he moves across and he comes forward. I love it. It's beautiful. And it's going to open up so many possibilities for you to do as well. Now, it didn't take long for the finances to take a turn. And bear in mind, we've spent no money at all. We were positive 136 when we started the season. Now, in the 14th of January, we're already near enough £100,000 in the red. Not good. And if you look at the wage budget, it hasn't moved. We're still spending too much. We need to get rid of players. When you get to January, it's probably a good time to start looking about who you want to keep, because our squad, basically, everybody, other than a few at the bottom, are out of contract. So I've had a look and I know who I want to keep, and one of them was Jean-Pierre Zapata. He's been a bit hit and miss this season, but he is only 21, and something really interesting happened when I renewed his contract. Take a look. So this is the first contract we got renewed. He's not on a great deal of money, £350 a week, but if you look over at the clauses, the first minimum fee release clause has been set. £54,000. Why is that important? Because it could well be the first step on our journey to the £1 billion. Remember the stipulation we have in place where we must sell players when clauses are hit. So if anyone hits the 54,000 mark, he's off, and that'll be the first step on us earning some money. Everybody else in this squad doesn't have a clause, so that's going to start coming into play as we get a little bit better and rise up the leagues. It's also worth reminding though that if we do get a big bid in that doesn't hit the clause but is still a decent sized bid, we will accept it, keeping this real. But I can't tell you enough how many different variations of the 4-4-2 I used. I used comprehensive highlights throughout, tweaking as we go. I did it live on Twitch as well so people could see us doing it. Only now can you see the tactical familiarity levels rising up, and now they pretty much understand what's what. By the way, the squad views, which a lot of you asked about, will be linked down below if you want to use them yourself. You can see from my centre-back squad views here that I've got a decent budget now, working in that 10 to 13 range. We've got Pex, we've got Faustino Manga, which was a pre-arranged transfer, and I'm quite happy with him when you look at him. And we've also got Mateus Brito, who I experimented with as a libero. I still think he can do it, so much so in fact, that I've got him training to be one. Now, I haven't got him next season, but I'm going to look to extend his loan, and if I can, if we go up, we might be able to convert him to a libero. You can see some of his attributes are on the way up, such as dribbling, heading, marking, anticipation and positioning. He's going to be a good player, so I want to keep hold of him. And one final thing for this episode, I am considering an affiliate. I don't know whether to do it. What do you think? Do we try and hunt for a senior affiliate or not? Or do we try and do it ourselves? I'm 50-50 at the minute. We've got about 11 matches left. 11 matches to get us up from this league, but it doesn't just end at the league campaign because there's 4 divisions of 14. We're then going to go into a playoff situation where the top 2 from each league, now bear with me here, then go into a group stage, the promotion stage, and then after that, I think you play off for the championship, and then you go up. And it gets complicated because I think one team needs to play against the team bottom of the league of 3, and it just blows my mind, but basically we need to finish in that top 2, and then we'll see. But yeah, all hail the king. Straight in, something I forgot to cover last time, we got our youth intake preview, and check this out. It's apparently an excellent intake, a terrific group of players coming through, particularly goalkeeper, winger, centre-backs. This, for our situation, could be ideal. I say our situation because don't forget that we need to replace any players we lose with players from the youth team or scouted players in our current financial situation. We ain't buying anyone. So that's got me excited. It's time to finish this season though, and let's see if we can get these boys promoted. The team started to fire and we went on a 15-game undefeated streak near the end of the season. Even our little funky throwing techniques were starting to work. Some lovely movements coming in from set pieces. This meant we held on to top spot, only losing 4 times throughout the season, and we won our little section of the Portuguese 4th Division. So good times, all good in the hood. And by the way, we've got our youth intake in. Take a look at this. Do you remember when they said it was going to be an excellent intake? Apparently not. Apparently not. Seems like my head of youth development got a little bit excited in the preview, and we've actually got ourselves a poor intake. As you can see, there's not a lot to shout about here. Key standout players potentially is this 15-year-old centre-back, but as you look at his attributes, he doesn't exactly hit our 10 to 13 range. Can he get up there? I'm not too sure. And the head of youth development seems really excited about namesake Pedro Diaz, and if I look at him, I mean, there's not a lot to shout about there, but if we look a little bit closer, he's only 16, and he is 6'4". And if you look at his attributes wise, heading 10, jumping 13, teamwork 16, he could be something to work with. I'm clutching at straws here, but hey. So what is with that? Why did it say at one point excellent youth intake, but in reality it's poor? It said excellent back in the day in relation to what we already had. So these lot are probably an upgrade on what we did have, but in reality, they are pretty poor. For example, if we go to my under-19 squad, all them players there are the youth candidates. So we didn't have any players initially. So yeah, it looks excellent when you don't have any players. Back to the positivity, we did win our league, so we are top. It doesn't count as a trophy, not yet, because we go into the Portuguese 4th Division playoff group stage drama. And here it is, we get separated into a group of 4. Now, unfortunately for us, Paredes are also in this group, and we cannot beat them this season. They've beat us once, and we've got a draw against them. The other 2 are from another 2 leagues, so we need to play each team twice now, so we've got another 6 matches. And the top 2 get promoted. The top 1, so if you finish top, you go into a match to be declared the overall champions. But I just want to get us up. Well, let's go. So into the playoffs we go, and then disaster struck. Edu find our boy Valente, our 39-year-old talisman. And he pulled up. He pulled up lame. Our linchpin, our icon. Achilles tendon ruptured. He's out for 7 to 8 months. Naturally, he's now thinking about quitting. This cannot get any worse. Why did I even speak? Look. I mean, Rodrigo Lima, he's out for a year. He's played every match this season in central midfield. He's one of only 3 players I've managed to give a contract to a year. Paredes, we just can't beat them. I never want to see them again. That's 4 games we've not been able to beat them, and it leaves us like this. We need 1 point from our last match to get up. We're not going to win the league. I don't care. We've got to beat or not lose to Javea, who need to beat us to get promoted. It's all on this. Yes, the boys come out on top. Just. That was a bit squeaky, I won't lie to you. But we got promoted. We can't win the league, but we are up. This leads to a few new challenges. After much debate, we did ask the board for a senior affiliate. And to my shock, they agreed, but they couldn't find one. So it's going to be something we have to revisit next season. And remember that contract situation where we've got 20 of a 25-man squad out of contract. Which leads me nicely over to the finances. Remember, we started on day one with a plus 130,000 finance. Today, as it sits, we're in the red by nearly £400,000. But despite that dire situation, the board have somehow came together, and for next season, we've got a wage budget that's way up at 40 grand a week and transfer budget of 26 grand. Can we do something with that? The plan is now to plan for next season. Do I stick with this tactic? This tactic's got us up from this league, but it did have some frailties, especially against Paredes and their 4-3-3. It could be time to experiment with something new, and if you think we're going to get an entirely new squad, there's probably time to do that. MVPs of the season, definitely King Abel. He ended up with 10 goals, 11 assists with an average rating of 7.32. Thankfully, he's got a new deal. I moved Zapata to the right wing, and when we did that, he was on fire. He scored 4 times from right wing for an overall season of 9. However, out of that 11 there, you see, only Shastri, the goalkeeper, Zapata, Joshua, and injured Lima are the men who've got new contracts. But not only now do we have a massive job getting a squad ready for a higher division and better teams, but I've also got hardly any staff in contracts. So I've got to decide if I'm going to keep them. Now, at the minute, the staff levels look great, but they are in comparison to the league we're in. When we go up, they're going to drop. So we might have to have a massive clear out there too. At the minute, we're allowed a coaching team of 9, which includes analysts, fitness coaches, and youth development. I'm hoping they give us an extra coach or two, especially a set-piece coach would be nice. And if he does retire, what more fitting role than the set-piece king for Diego Volante to be our new set-piece coach? But now with likely 20 players leaving us, it's time for our first look into the scouting screen, trying to build a squad for next season in Liga 3. So very shortly, we're going to go through the squad planning for a higher division, the tactic we're going to use for this season, wiping the slate clean on staffing. I've got a lot to get through here. We've established that loads of these players are about to leave us because their contracts are expiring, and to be brutally honest, not many of them are going to be good enough for the next level. Remember, the next level will equal a key attribute raise from the 4th division where we went for 10 to 13 for our key attributes. We're going to go to the 3rd division this time, and that rating is going to be 11 to 14, so we're moving up a bit in terms of quality. All in all, there's going to be a massive turnover. Bigger than I want to do. I want to keep the nucleus of the team, but it needs must at this stage. First season, contracts have gone. There's the players that are left that we're going to take some part. Starters, 3 of them. And we've got some on the bench. A lot of work to do. But first, completely out of nowhere, I've got the news bulletin that we are moving stadium. We're going to rent Gondomar's stadium. What this means, and this is probably the earliest this has ever happened to me, is the board have announced plans to enlarge our stadium by another 860 seats, so we need somewhere to play for the next season. So it's going to be there, this beautiful Estadio de San Miguel Gondomar Stadium, built in 1970. It's a little bit bigger than ours, so yeah, we're there for this season. So this has happened early. I didn't expect it. I thought our stadium would be good enough for the league above, but apparently not, and that's where we're going to play for the next season. But it does mean we're going to get ourselves a nice little upgrade to our stadium, which is incredibly surprising if you remember the state of our finances, where we currently sit in the red by £400,000. The prep begins now, and we did say about the coaches what we were going to do, and I've made a tough decision, but it's what needs to be done. We've been brutal and we've sacked everyone. Assistant coach, head of youth development, he's not been good enough. Out goes the fitness coach. 22-year-old coach João Cruz is also gone. I know what you're thinking, that means Valente is in as a coach, right? Unfortunately, it's a bit of a no-go because he's unfortunately not very good at all. His coaching abilities are pretty poor. And then I thought, director of football maybe? No. So we've got our staff search underway, then out of nowhere, this has came. Tycoon Eyes Salgueiros. Already, could we be subject of a takeover bid from a mystery foreign tycoon? Not too sure about that. Will it come off? Probably not, but we'll keep an eye on that. But now, we had to reshape this squad, and we have done so. We've started the process, and I'm quite happy so far. One of the staff that survived was Unborn Penza's chief scout. I was quite happy with him. Our level, judging player ability at 11 and potential at 11, but more importantly, his extensive knowledge around the world, that played into it. So we've kept him and he's completely in charge at the minute because he's the only member of the scouting team we have left. So he's come up with quite a few recommendations for new signs, but we need to decide if they're going to be good enough. Using our parameters of 11 to 14, that's what we need to look for. Now, we don't just take anyone who hits those targets because it's early days, so we can have a look at them and then weigh it up. Now, I've got a good idea because he's hit the first 3 key attributes I want, and then I can start broadening it out a bit and have a little look further. What's his pace like? What's his finishing and his passing like? He's good. He's in that sort of ballpark, so he is probably someone that we'll look to get, especially if you look at his contract at only £200 a week. With our finance situation, he could be exactly what we need. Not forgetting the save outline, ideally we'll be looking for players who could potentially be sellable. So we don't really want to be getting too many players 30 plus. We want to be looking at that potential sell on range, you know, from like 20 years old and up. So the good news, I spent hours over this past weekend looking for players to build this squad ready for a Liga free campaign, and I think I'm about there now. If you look at the transfers out section there, those are the players that have been released. An absolute army of them. It left us with a squad of about 3 or 4, but thankfully we have replaced them. I'm not going to show you all of them, but I'll show you a good chunk. Now here is the squad overview. You can see that it's a decent size now. We've got probably a 25-man squad, something like that, which is about where I want to be. I don't want to be too much bigger than that, and it's got enough cover all over the pitch. First up, this is the boy who's going to replace Diego. This is Z Valente. You can see the upgrade we've got here. His attributes are even on the higher side of the range we're aiming for. We're aiming for 11 to 14. He's got a load coming in at 15, 16. He's probably too good for us. We paid a little bit for him, £825 a week, free transfer. He's going to be the linchpin. He's our new creative threat. We have ourselves some South American influence with Pedro Venique. He's a Brazilian. He wants to play midfield, but I see him more as a central defender. I'm going to try and make him play a bit of ball. Now, his heading's not great, so it's very important we get someone next to him who can take the burden of that. This is where Dennis Martins comes in. He's 27 as well, so good sell-on value potential. Good broad range of attributes, and you can see the key attributes for centre-backs. Positioning, concentration and decisions are all covered, and he's got some nice other ones as well, such as his jumping reach, his marking and his tackling. Very good for this level. Last season we got ripped to bits by Miguel Constantinescu. He was on loan at Paredes, our bogey team. This season he's on loan with us. Now King Abel will be our central midfield on attack, but next to him we now have Yaya Bamba. He's going to be the midfield enforcer, if you like. He absolutely hits the remit of anticipation, concentration, work rate and positioning. With all the creative players around him, he's going to be vital. And late in the transfer window, Unborn Penza came up trumps with a brand new goal scorer for us. Off the ball, composure, anticipation, and he can chuck in some decent acceleration, pace and finishing. Balasangare at this level could score a truckload. Now we have paid a bit for him. He's our highest earner on £2 a week, but I'm hoping he will be worth it. As with all the players who've came in, he does have a minimum free release clause of 105,000. So this is where these release clauses might come into play. Now overall, I'm super happy with the progress we've made. We've got some good players coming now, and we've still got the players that are hanging around from last season. Remember Zapata? Well, the good news is with Zapata, I've now got him a face. There he is. From Peru, he's going to still be there. He'll probably be in rotation with our new striker Sangare. Goalkeeper Shastri is still there, and King Abel and Rodrigo Lima, both injured, will be in the squad. But you can see their turnover we've had. But I'm hopeful that this squad can do the business. Now, tactic-wise, we do have last season's successful tactic, but it did have some frailties, and I'm just wondering, now we've got better players, can we go for a more gegenpress style and press a little bit more with a sort of classic 4-2-3-1 variation? I may move Volante over here. He's going to have pretty much a bit of a free role now, but we do know that if he sits in there, if the central midfielder on attack pushes up, he will float around, so we don't need to worry. He will move around in match as we see fit. I do expect Constantinescu to be really creative, and I want to give him as much freedom as possible. So that's why in behind him we've got an inverted wing back on defender. He'll just sit back and cover these areas. So I've got a decent sized squad now, and the attribute level has definitely gone up. A lot of them now are in that 11 to 14 range that we're looking for from the third level of the competition. However, if we're going to look for a bit more of a pressing style than last season, there's some more key attributes that I need to make sure we've got. And I've got a squad view here that shows that we're pretty much getting there. Okay, so that's my full squad there. 26 or so, I think it's that, 25, 26. We'll go up to views up here, and I've made one suited for Gegenpress to see if we've got the right type of player to make it work. We'll select that, and now you can see the key attributes I've got across here. I'm just going to deselect the goalkeepers because obviously we don't need them to be pressing like crazy. And this is what we're left with. You can see across the top there we've got 8 attributes that I deem kind of essential for Gegenpress style. Work rate, teamwork, stamina, natural fitness, decisions, bravery, anticipation, and acceleration. Now a couple of those might surprise some people, but I'm just going for an all-round approach, specifically with the acceleration and decisions. Now if I look at the squad overall, you can see a lot of those are in the yellow, in that 11 to 14 range, and it's looking pretty good. I think the squad, might be able to handle this style of pressing. Where it may waver is with attacking midfielders and strikers, but if I have a look at it, I'm still pretty happy with it. Some of them are a bit off, but not massively so. They're still in the 10 to 12 range, such as Z Valente. But remember, Z Valente is going to be our freedom fighter. He's going to have positions to just roam around wherever he wants, so I'm not too concerned about him. The rest is pretty competitive, you know. So if you think you want to have a look at your squad in that style, the filter for that view, the Gegenpress view, is down below in the description. But it does mean now I've got a few more options. So if in match I feel like we can press a bit more and crank that right up, we can do so. There are a couple of things I'm wondering about. If you remember last season, we had the attacking midfielder in behind the central midfielder on attack because there was more room here because we were playing a winger. Now here, we've got an inverted winger on attack, so he's naturally going to come inside as well. So I'm just wondering if this gets a bit too crowded. We'll see how that plays as the season goes out. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the 3 options we've got at the minute. We've got this asymmetric style there. We've got a bit of a classic 4-2-3-1 there. And we've got a slightly more defensive version of it there, with team instructions backing off a little bit. Early signs are good. We had a pre-season friendly against top division Firenze and put up a good fight. Game ended 0-0 and they weren't really on top of us. We played a few weaker teams and again it looked pretty good, dominating each match. This is Benfica's B team we put to the sword. By the way, it was a total accident that I replaced Valente with Velente. It's just a total accident. A happy accident, but he will have the creative freedom. We will move him around in matches as we see fit. So once I got my squad together and I decided on where they were going to play, I wanted to double down on that with a bit of training. So literally every player, I would go to their training and make sure that they were position and role duty they were training in was where they were playing in my key tactic. So even someone like King Abel, the legend from last season, his training would still be all around the central midfield attack position. Some players that I brought in, such as Jeleni Trevisan, a young Belgian, were hitting his position role and duty, but also adding an additional focus to help his overall progression. Now the squad's one thing, but this is my next big update and my favourite one yet. You ready? Remember how we sacked all that staff and wanted to upgrade? Take a look at this. We basically revitalised our entire staffing, and the coaching staff now is the highest in Liga 3. Annoyingly, other than goalkeeper shot stopping, but still, look at that. Recruitment team, although small, again, highest in Liga 3 with a new scout to assist Umbo and Penza and a new director of football. And stop press, we've even got a full medical team. I feel like this is one of the things that gets overlooked when you're going up through the leagues. You just kind of leave your staff as is, but we want to really upgrade ours and we've done that. Even my new assistant manager, Ricardo Lima, he's way better than what I had previously. The coaches are better, they're now in double figures, in fact pretty much in the attribute zone for our key players, so we might as well use it for the staff as well. But without doubt the one I'm most excited about is the new head of youth development, whose judging ability, potential and working with youngsters is through the roof, and he's probably too good for us. All that meant I could reassign the coach assignments, making us that bit more well-rounded and a better coach workload overall. So now we're pretty much set. We've got ourselves a brand new captain in Jose Shastri, who's been there since we got there. We've got a new key player in the new Valente, and we've got ourselves a new hot prospect in young Jeleni. Not forgetting the 4 or 5 players we've kept from last season. Hopefully some of them can come up the leagues with us, such as Zapata. So all that leaves us now is Liga 3 and working out the way it works. So initially 2 groups of 10 rather than the 4 groups of 14 in the division below. And it looks like the top 4 from each of these league tables goes into the championship group and the rest go into the relegation stage. Then, if I'm reading this correctly, the top team and the second team get straight up into Liga Portugal 2, and the third place team will go into a playoff. I'm sure some of you have more experience of this league, so if I've got that right, let me know. If I've got it wrong, let me know. So the season preview, by the way, Sporting are 4-11 on to win the league, their B team. But us, in at 9th, we're the best players of the promoted teams. So a little bit of pressure there, 14-1. We don't have any players in the Dream 11. And in fact, if you look over to the key players section, so this is like basically the whole squad of Dream players, we do have Valente in there and our boy Constantinescu. Other than that, that's it. So a big summer rebuild is complete. Complete new staff, complete new squad, decent pre-season in terms of results, new tactic. Let's see how we do. I reckon it's time for an update. So, how's the season been going? Life in Liga 3 has started really well. Even the King's back from injury doing things like this. And hot prospect Zapata has been insane. I couldn't have asked for a better start. We've won every match and we've looked really good. We've only conceded 3 goals and we're smashing goals in. Tactic-wise, we've mostly played this. It's the 4-2-3-1 with Valente kind of roaming around. Now, during the matches, if I see a gap here and there, I'll move him. I'll put him there. I'll put him in the middle. I'll even, and this is a key one, if we're dominating, sometimes I've made him into a trequartista, even though he doesn't actually want to play there. But when he doesn't need to defend, push him on a bit more. Now, this is the player instructions episode, but we'll get to that later on if this tactic holds up. Because we've got bigger news, and it's this. If we're going to hit these targets, we need to stay here a long time. So one of the early steps on this is to get a new contract, and the board have come at us with a 2-year deal, which I happily accepted. So that's us here till 2026. So that's a good early step, a good early target for the manager in this sort of service to keep the contracts coming. You don't want 1-year deals, really. So we've got a 2-year deal, and our early days have looked pretty good. Interestingly, if you look at the player stats, it says players bought 17. Signed, because we bought nobody. Players sold 4, same deal, because total value in is 0, total value out is 0. We've paid a little bit to agents, which is annoying. Further down, though, number of players released is 18. So actually, it's more like we brought in 17 and out have gone 22. Now over to finances, and you can see in the top corner there, we are in the red by 53,000. Current board put some money in. We were in the black for a little period, maybe a couple of weeks, and now we're back in the red. What that does mean is the tycoon that was rumoured hasn't came. And to be honest, I'm quite happy with that. I don't want a sugar daddy at this stage. I want to stay down and dirty in these lower leagues and build our way up. So if he comes, he's not welcome, but it doesn't look like he's coming. So currently we are 5 for 5. We're 5 for 5. We're top of the league, and we just need to be in that top 4, because the top 4 goes into that breakaway group. So I think what it is there's two leagues, promotion and relegation. The promotion one's going to have 8 teams in, 7 games at home, 7 away, 14 in total. So it'll add to it. Going to end up being about a 32-game season all in all. I mentioned at the start about Zapata. He has been unreal. We played him up front this season. Last year we moved him to the wing, didn't we? But he's up front. He scored 6 in 5. He's starting to recognise that potential we had. Now he's a day one as Zapata, so we want to bring him through the leagues with us. And to get him better, we've actually focused on his positioning of playing in advance forward, and we've added the additional focus of agility and balance, and they are on the way up. So that's how we're trying to improve him. We'll see how he goes as the season progresses. And if the momentum sticks and we're starting to get success with this tactic, we'll get back to it and we'll have a little look at the player instructions and see what we've done. Now it's time to get through this clutch of games. Yes, what a time we have had. We've finished top of our little group. Again, it doesn't mean a league title. We did this last year, didn't we? Doesn't mean a league title. We need to win the championship group. But we are top. Second in total points, only to Sporting CPB. Only the 3 defeats. Plenty of goals scored. Lovely. And you saw Zapata score a truckload. Now, I do want to pay attention to one match. Do you remember Paredes? That one team that we could not beat. Late in the season, Paredes came to visit Salgueiros at our temporary home, And this happened in the first 10 minutes. Five 0 after 9 minutes, the game finishes 7-3. I think we've had our revenge. Results like that meant that we are now in the top 8. The championship group, we play each team twice, so we've got 14 more matches here. Makes it a bit of a longer season than you think. So the top 2 will go automatically up to the second division. The third place, which is why it's in a slightly different colour, will go into a playoff to get up into the next division. So it's top 3 or bust. So here is the current lineup. You'll notice that there's no Abel and there's no holding midfielder Yaya. They're just in rotation at the minute. Abel's had a few injuries this season. Let's have a little look at him. There he is. He's still contributed. He's had 12 total appearances, 2 assists and a goal, but he's been injured so much. But he's lingering around the squad and we love him, so we keep him. Zapata's been the main guy up front. Started the season like house on fire. The whole season now, he's scored 15 in 19. If you look at his attributes there, they're all on the way up. We have progressed him really nicely. In fact, if you go up to his development tab and drop down to progress, you can see the start of February 24. He's a bit of a 2.5 star player, but you can see the incline of his abilities on the way here. 3 star at the minute, but his potential ability is going up and up. 3.5 star. Now we're at 3.5, pushing to get that 4 star potential ability. He's a wanted man, and because we have to sell players who hit release clauses, we actually went into him and we got him a new deal, which meant his minimum fee release clause has now bumped up to 120,000, so that's double what it was. We had to get that deal done, so if he does get sold now, at least it's more money, but I'm hoping he doesn't. You'll notice the progression. That's purely from playing him in his favoured position, training him right in the same role, and picking out a couple of areas of his game to improve as well with some additional training. It's worked the treat, and he's bagged 15 goals this season. You saw some other goals there from highlight players. Konstantinescu, who's only on loan with us, 9 assists, 17 games. He's a class above. We need to keep him. And Valente took a little while to settle, but he's there now. His current form's fantastic. He's on 7.4 in his last 5 matches. 5 goals, 4 assists. Lovely player. So player instructions. These can make your set tactic into a completely different tactic. And this is what we've done with ours. We haven't put too much on them because it's lower league football. We don't want to do too much and overcomplicate things. Just a few key ones. My approach to player instructions is accentuating some positives of the players and in some cases eliminating the negatives as best you can. If we look across the back there, you can see the inverted wing back on defend. None needed there, quite happy with that. Same with the central defenders, and the wing back we've actually asked him to dribble a little bit less because if you look at his attribute level, his dribbling is 9. So let's not encourage that. He's not the best at it. I want him to stay wider for the sake of the team to spread the game a bit. Central midfield defence, even making him more solid, he's taking fewer risks. Basically, I want him to get it and give it, get it and give it. Central midfielder, we've only got movement the channels on him, mostly because behind him we've got an inverted wing back popping in there. And we've also got Konstantinescu, who likes to roam around and come inside. So sometimes he will overlap him as he comes inside. Speaking of Konstantinescu, we want to take advantage of his class. So he's got more direct passes because of his vision and his passing and his technique ability. With the take more risks as well. Cross less often because we don't really want him to do that. We don't need him to do that. He's coming inside a lot more. And shoot less often. I want him to be more of a creator. Valente, take more risks, dribbling more, get further forward. And you'll notice I've got mark specific position. Which one is that? It's the opposition's defensive midfielder. So he kind of hovers around this side. If there is a defensive midfielder who's a bit of a playmaker, he will be around him to try and nullify that. The inside forward, we leave him as is, and then Zapata up front. Simple, simple, simple. So yeah, just a little few player instructions. You'll notice the main guys like Konstantinescu, I still can't say that, and Valente, they've got a little bit more because I feel like they can deal with it a bit more. The rest, it's all pretty basic stuff, if any at all. So the January transfer window is open. We haven't done much, but we've just done a little bit to help improve our team, and it's one I'm really excited about, using the South American flavour. Shastri is our number 1, and he has been for 2 years, but there has been a slight drop off when we're conceding too many goals. If you look at his last 5 matches, 6.74, but conceding 7 as well. An opportunity came to sign this man, Breno, a 24-year-old Brazilian from Santos. Now, goalkeeper attribute-wise, across the board, really good, and because of his age, there can be improvement here. He's probably going to be an upgrade on Shastri. Signs are good when he came in and he needed a minimum fee release clause of 170. That's close to being the biggest our club. I'm tempted to throw him straight in the team for this championship group. It'll be harsh on Shastri, but he could be the future. So we're about to go into this championship group. We've got 7 matches now. Sporting twice is going to be tough. We need to somehow get in that top 2. Worst case scenario, top 3. I do think that we are ahead of schedule. The squad were more than capable of hitting that gegenpress approach, like we used the squad filter to find out. We made some good signings. A basic formation, but one that's working. It's time for the championship group. Let's start with the good news. The good news is Breno is fast becoming the lower league Edison. All of his attributes are on the rise, and if you look at his on the ball play, such as his passing, his first touch, his vision, he can definitely play as a sweeper keeper. Now you'll notice that he has conceded a few, 12 in 8, we'll get to that, but do bear in mind that he's never played a game for Santos. This is his first few games, so the fact that his attributes are rising like this is a really good sign. Into the championship playoffs, and despite dominating our first match, a 93rd minute winner for Amora robbed us. However, we fired back in the next game. We battered Trofense 3-0. Making it 2 in a row with a really good win against Braga's B team. Absolutely battered Academica. But somehow they scratched an equaliser. And this started a worrying theme. A theme where we dominated matches, but somehow lost. Halfway point of the playoff group. That looks a bit savage. We're sitting 7th. We've won 2, drawn 2, lost 3. I have no idea how we've lost 3. Played really well. But if you look at it, we're only 3 points off 2nd place. So we're not that far back. We've got 7 games to go. This is a halfway point. We've got a big 7 coming up. We needed a 95th minute wonder goal from Constantinescu just to rescue a draw against Trofense. This meant we hadn't won in 5 matches. This is our worst form since we took over the club. Absolutely typical. That late equaliser gave us a bit of form though. We did the double over Braga, which meant we are on the brink of promotion now. 3 teams above us, all on 17. We sit on 15. 4 games to go. We've got to play 2 of the teams above us. It's in our hands. Counter-attack twice from Academica. And somehow we lost that match. Look at the state of the match stats. Player of the match, Carlos Alves, their goalkeeper. Same story in the next match. We should have won that one comfortably. 3.7 XG. 89 minutes gone. Sporting B team beat us 4-3. Like a broken record, match stats say we should have got something. This meant our last game against Caldas, we couldn't do anything. We couldn't go up. The boys lost their heads. We've run out of steam. We conceded 6. A disastrous end to the season. We just conceded 10 goals in 2 matches. If you look at the entire championship group, we conceded 30 plus in the 14 matches. It looks like we simply ran out of steam, but I think I am to blame. Because the initial season went so well, only losing 2 or 3 matches, I've simply put, got complacent. I should have changed it more. I should have done more tweaks. We've got to change something for next season. At this point, it would be quick to jump on the panic train and just say, right, I'm getting a new tactic, everything. But let's think about this. We finished top of our group. We were class. We just ran out of steam. So I need to look at it a bit deeper and find what we can change subtly. So I visited the data hub and I don't have the greatest analyst, but I will be able to gauge something from the available information. So I went up to team and team performance. And I've got myself these scatter graphs because I knew we had so many chances in some of their matches. The first thing I looked at was attacking efficiency. If I bring this one up, you can see aggressive shooting, yes. Wasteful shooting, we're up there. We manage more shots per match than average, but we are less clinical. So I need to do something about that. So what I've done, I made a copy of the original tactic. There it is. I'm just going to tweak a few things. Now what I'm going to ask the team to do now is, because I'm having so many shots, I'm going to bring that tempo down a bit so we can take a bit more time. I'm also going to add in work ball into box as well, so we take less stupid shots because we seem to be having an awful lot of them. Next up, I looked at the defensive side of the game. If we look at defending here, we can see we're down in this area here for fewer blocks and fewer clearances. If we also look at tackling, we can also see fewer tackles. Back to the copy tactic. So this is going to be our alternative version, our B version. We're going to change our central midfielder on defend, make him a bit more aggressive, a ball-winning midfielder. And because we're a high-pressing team, I'm going to ask the 3 forward midfielders here to add in a bit more aggressive tackling, because maybe they're standing off a bit too much. They're not going to be the best tacklers in the world, but when they get there, we want them to put their physicality across a bit. So we'll ask all 3 of those to tackle harder. Next up, I saw possession as a big outlier. Let's have a look at this. Loose in possession, we're basically the most loose. Now, we are the most aggressive, so that's going to be a risk we do play, but we can probably tighten up a little bit. So I'm actually going to lower the tempo even more to a lower tempo in this version. I'm going to have a look at a few players once we start the season and ask them whether or not it's a right option to take more risks. We might take that off on a couple of players, such as the central midfielders. We might take fewer risks in there so they complete a few more passes. Finally, I looked at the last 5 matches, the ones where we've conceded the most goals. I think there's something like 15 goals have gone in here. And we can see we've conceded 7 and 15 goals have been scored from positions close to the penalty spot. They're recommending a low block, which is an option. I think what I will do is drop this down to standard or maybe even low defensive line. Remember, we're going to use this in not all games, but in some games where we might be against a stronger team. So I'm going to keep tweaking away at that. I want 2 versions of the same tactic, but a back-off version. I don't want to over-panic because the original tactic, the high-press one, which I know my squad can do, we won the league with it. So we were close. We just ran out of steam and we need a plan B, and that was my fault. So I'm going to work on this one to be the plan B and use the data hub to make it as effective as possible. Another easy place to panic is to replace all the players, but most of them have played great. But what I will say is we're going to look at the contracts expiring now, and we've got 1, 2, 3, we've got about 6 or 7 on the way out, and there's not any of them I'm going to keep. The big loss is going to be Miguel. His loan is about to expire and we can't get him again, so he will be needed to replace. But for most of this team, they will stay. There is a couple of positions that I would like to upgrade, namely the inside forward on attack, so I'm going to take him away from that position now, and the wing back as well. We're going to take him out. Everybody else is probably going to be a key nucleus of the team. We'll take our man out as well, considering he's leaving us. So you can see we've got 3 positions we need to fill. So don't expect a mad season like this one, where we had to get in all them players. I actually really like the nucleus of the squad. I want to keep it pretty similar, especially because we're in the same league. There will be some outgoings. And we need them because if we look at the finances now, we're now over £1 million in debt. How has it got this way? If we go up to expenditure, we'll have a look at the last month. I need to see where the big outlay is coming from. And you can see player wages is 73,000, staff wages is 53,000. There's not a lot we can do about that really. What it does mean is the board have set a different type of wage budget. It's less than last season at £24,000 a week. Transfer budget is 16. We won't spend that. We'll keep all this back for agents' fees and wages, but we're going to have to run it tight. So it's another season in League of Three. We didn't get the back-to-back promotions. We're going to make small tweaks, but that's going to be the basis of the squad. I do want to use King Abel more next season. Injuries have got a hold of him, but he's still a vital part of the squad. And I do have an alternative tactic if we can't get these 2 to fire. And here's a little sneak preview. It's a 3 at the back. I'm thinking about disregarding the wide players high up and getting a bit more solid at the back. Hopefully we don't have to use it, but it's there, it's built, it's ready. But for now we're going to pre-season. It'll be less hectic than last one, which is good because that one took me hours. And we built our tactics based on a few things from the data hub, not too much. I don't want to over panic. I can't get that across. We were good. We just ran out of steam. So all I need is a plan B for the plan A. We're going to come back firing for season 3, and this is the one where we need to get promoted. But indeed, this is a big problem. We're just about done for pre-season, and looking at the tactics screen, we've had some good success filling up those key positions that we wanted to in the pre-season transfer market. Hey, we came up against Porto for the first time in this career. It's their B team, but still, it's the first time we've met our rivals. And we beat them. We spent all that time at the end of last season creating this tweaked version of the 4-2-3-1. I'm excited to see how it goes. In pre-season, it's done really well. Some big results there, We can disregard the one against the B team, but we look good, especially against Porto B. We look really good. I gave you a sneak preview of the signings. You can see it's far less than last season, but these are quality ones. So we've gone for quality over quantity. Francis Tony Khan is going to play on that left-hand side inside forward role. A key position we didn't really nail last season. He looks good. I think he could be exceptional. A brand new commanding centre-back in Elton Monteiro. He does miss the concentration attribute that we wanted, but everything else I think is worth the risk to get him in. And finally, Santiago Scolostri. That's how you say it, right? He's my new winger. And for the wingers and our attribute levels, he absolutely nails it. But stop press, you will notice, transfers out. We have had 49,000 come in. 2 of our clauses have been hit. Which means, after 3 seasons, part of our epic challenge to get a net transfer profit of £1 billion is underway. We're currently sitting at... Right, let's get £1 billion into this calculator. How many zeros is it? I'm reliably informed it's 9, right? So there's $1 billion. We can now take off the massive player sales of 49,000, which means £999,951,000 to go. So we built this new version of a tactic using the data hub at the end of last season. What it meant is we were a bit less hectic, lowering the tempo, trying to make better chances. Early days in the season, things looked to be going really well. Not only were we scoring loads, but remember the defensive problems? We've only conceded 1 goal so far. At this early stage, after 5 matches, we're back on top of this league. This league we're great at. It's the one afterwards that it went a little bit, you know. So far, so good. Now let me talk to you about those data hub changes that have made us look really good. There's a data hub, and I wanted to look at some key metrics from last season that we were pretty poor at to this season we seem to be nailing. It is early days, but it's very promising. A huge one is attacking efficiency. You can see where we sit there, right up in this section here with aggressive shooting and clinical shooting. Last season we were over here in the wasteful shooting department. This could be down to a combination of the lower tempo, the work ball into the box, and just being that bit more clinical. This ties in with the goal output, which is high scoring, and impenetrable defence, which we'll get onto. Both of those things are linked to this pitch tilt. We're in a good position down here for fewer passes against in the final third, so we're defending well, they can't get through us, but we've also got lots of passes for in the final third, so we're attacking really well as well. It's a really promising start, but there are still some areas that we need to keep an eye on. We're still not great winning the ball back. We can see here the tackling. It's fewer tackles, poor tackling. It's going to be down to the fact we're dominating a lot of the ball, but I'd still like to see that up a bit. And also possession tab. If I look at possession, we're winning the ball back, but we're losing possession as well. So those two things kind of counter each other, but I just need to keep an eye on the losing possession thing. All in all, this version has started really well, really well. I've had problems in goals because not 1, not 2, but 3 of my goalkeepers got injured. At the minute, if we have a look at the tactics screen, Breno's in there injured for 3 weeks, backup Shastri, 3 weeks, so we're going to have to bring in third choice our boy Manu for the next month or so. Right, so we had a quick look at Francis Khan, our new inside forward. Not traditional because he's left-footed, so you'd think he wouldn't be able to play an inside forward role too well. However, he has had a lightning start. Every game doing stuff like this. Right foot there. And like this. Left foot. He is an absolute constant threat, getting in the right positions. He looks like he's going to be an absolutely superb pickup. First 5 games, 5 goals, 2 assists, an average rating of 8.10. And on the other wing, keep an eye on our boy Santiago here, because he's going to be something special. Already got 3 assists and a really high average rating. High hopes. We do have some breaking news. You will notice that the Complexo Desportivo de Campaña has been upgraded. It's finished. We've got a capacity of 2,000 now. I need to get us a better picture of it. There is actually no picture available, so I'm looking for one. If you do have one, let me know. But we've got a nice stadium now. It's 2,000 capacity. It's classed as good. I'm still unsure why they bought it, because let's be honest, our finances are in the mud. The worst screen in the game for me at the minute. I'm not even spending any money. 1.2 million in debt. Okay, deep into the season now, we were having some big wins and some lovely football. All in all, the first stage in Liga 3 has gone fantastically, probably even better than last time. In fact, we only lost one match all season, right at the end. We've had a terrific season, and the little tweaks we made to that tactic, remember, we didn't want to change too much. There wasn't a lot wrong. They seem to have done the business. We made 2 more signings, loan signings completely free, and look at one of them. He's the outlier. You'll notice the club, Liverpool, Rodrigo Mora, in on loan from Liverpool. Now here he is, a young player, 18 years old. His value is ridiculous. That's probably based on him being at a Premier League club though. But what's interesting about him is his history. You can see he's came from FC Porto, our big local rivals. Liverpool have bought him for 7.75, immediately loaned him to us. He started off really well with 4 assists. He's kind of a backup to Valente. A completely free loan signing with no wages. This is a fantastic move. As fun as last season's pre-season transfer window was with all 20 coming in, that's more my type of transfer window. Just a clutch of players to improve what's already a pretty good squad, and I'm really happy with that. And we're top of the league. But we can't get too carried away because we were in the same position this time last season going into the playoffs, and then it all just fell apart like a house of cards. So hopefully this time we've learned from it. We've had some huge standouts, and the faith in Zapata, again, 13 goals in 15, a few injuries this time, but still lethal. And Z Valente has had an even better season this time, 11 goals, 8 assists. So we've got the Championship group now. We're about to go into that and see if we can actually get promoted, but I just want to focus on Valente. He's our main creative force. And in the lower leagues, if you can get a player who's this good, he'll just be a standout for you. He does things in matches when we're watching this, when I'm streaming. He drops off, he finds space. The amount of passes he's doing when you watch it on comprehensive or extended is ridiculous. In fact, if you go to his player profile and go across to player analytics, this is the Tato skin, which is available now, by the way. I'll put the link down in the video description. His general performance, so as a midfielder in general, fantastic. The ones he's not great at is tackling, which I'm not expecting him to be great at, and pass completion. But again, he takes the risks. He's my link, so I'm not bothered about that. Kevin De Bruyne in real life, he's similar. He goes for so many risky passes. His completion rate isn't great, so I've got absolutely no problem with that. And that leads us to this. The creativity in midfielders from Valente is ridiculous. He's way up there in terms of key passes, in goals, in open play expected assists, shots. He's just the all-round package, and he's been a bit of an X-factor in our team. So that is the takeaway from this episode. If you can find yourself a proper player like that, a little creative force, and you can get him somewhere across that front line, whether it be out wide or in the pocket like he is, he's going to do some damage. Now, if you remember, we got ourselves a new head of youth development at this, probably the end of season 1. Pedro, he's come in. We haven't had anything yet, but we have found one little nugget that he could be something. Tell me what you think. Into the development centre we go, and you'll notice there's no players worth noting. Let's not panic yet, because a lot of them are really young. And the one I really like is down here. This is Lu Gucheng. Now, he's Chinese. He's only 16. On the face of it, his attributes might not look great, but look a bit deeper, you can see he's actually a 6'6" potential target forward, or potentially a wide target forward to give us something a little bit different off the bench. In our current financial situation, in a year's time, he could be what we need. To accentuate this, I've got him training as a target forward on attack, so he focuses on those key attributes, and he's a little bit weak at the minute, bless his heart, so I've got him strength training as well, so he's hitting the weights, he's eating his spinach. Fingers crossed on him, we'll keep an eye on him. Three games gone, we've started really well. We're top of the championship group. We need to finish in that top 2. If we finish third, it's another playoff match, but the top 2 is the goal. Hopefully we don't fall away like we did last time. 11 matches to go in this balmy league. It's tougher than it looks when you first start. So here's hoping that the tweaked version of the 4-2-3-1 holds up. We haven't had to use this yet, but you never know. If it goes wrong, we will go back to it. Right, mad couple of games there. Lost 3-6, won 6-1. Then we won again with 4, and then we've just lost again. Problem is, as you can see by these injuries down here, and the fact Mora's on international duty, I am running out of players here. We then lost our next game to Amora. Don't start me on the match stats. Don't start me. Varzim next at home, and we got absolutely battered. 3-0. We're starting to bottle it again. Now we haven't won in 5 matches, and we haven't scored in 4. 2 matches ago, we scored 10 in 2. What is going on? Having not won in 5, we now haven't lost in 5. And this thumping win over champions, Trofense, champions. Somehow we're into the playoffs. 3rd place. Now the problem is we've got to play a team from the higher division who are on the way down. Tricky. Mad championship group though. Winning, losing. Remember the league campaign again where we lost only once? We just seem to fall apart, but we're there. Let's see who we get in the playoffs. Okay, it's Firenze. 2-leg game against Firenze. First game's at home. Early days, it didn't start great. 2-0 down after 15 minutes thanks to a penalty. Rest of the match, they didn't do anything. We couldn't quite get the goal back though. Second leg, I tried a different style of formation here with 2 inverted wing backs. Zapata deflected, back in it. Free kick from Lente, hits the beans. Bit of a scramble, Hugo puts it in. We're back level. Into extra time ago. This is the 97th minute. Firenze break down the left. Damn it. But we're not dead yet. 100 minutes gone. Franny Tony Khan lashes it in. It's 3-1. Which meant 3-3 on aggregate, and we went to penalties. It was level all the way up. Yet again, we're stuck in League of 3. We don't go up. We're getting closer, but after our league campaigns, we should be making better attempts at the playoffs, and we keep bottling it. We keep bottling it, and I need to know why. So I'm going back in the data hub like we did at the end of last season. And the problem is, everything looks pretty okay. The attacking efficiency looks good. The goal output looks good. The one thing that I can pick out is this. Is tackling. We're not great. Fewer tackles, poor tackling. It makes me think, are we aggressive enough? Are we too nice? As I start looking through my team, basically I'm looking at the aggression levels there. Maybe a bit of bravery, but aggression mostly. Most of them. I've got a team of absolute nice guys. I need a Roy Keane. I need a Gattuso. I need someone who's a little bit dirty. So here we are again. What do we do this time? I've got a tactic that is comfortably winning the first part, and then for some reason we just bottle vital parts of the championship group. Do I change tactics? What I do need to do, looking at this, is have a little bit of a mini, I hate to use the word, but rebuild, because it looks like I've got 10 to 12 players out of contract. And do you know what? They ain't good enough. We've been at this level a couple of seasons now. We're going to freshen things up. But first, something really weird's happened. There's the Complexo Desportivo de Campaña, and shout out to viewer Stevie, long-term viewer, supplying me that picture of our beautiful stadium. It's just been increased to 2,000 capacity. Brilliant, right? What is going on here? This is our 4th season we're about to go into, and for some reason, the Salgueiros board have today announced an agreement for a new stadium, a brand new one. Now I know what you're thinking. We are massively in debt, right? But look a bit closer, it does say that it's a completely grant-based stadium. So the council are going to own it and we're going to pay them rent. What? So at the start of next season, we're going to have an 8,000-seater brand new stadium. We can't really be in League of 3 when that happens. So the time is now to look at this squad and decide who's going and who's staying. Now I'm looking at all these expiring contracts. All of these lot are going. And yeah, that includes King Abel. It's been emotional, but we need a new king. Also, my starting 11. Right, who's safe? Breno, great keeper. Centre-backs, good. Right-back, yes. Now, the left-back situation, not too happy with. Vieira's just covering there. He's out. Definitely Maria. I'm going to move him across from central midfield attack. So we need a new aggressive central midfielder. You'll see a massive gap there, and this hurts. But Scalacci, our wonder winger. He was our best player last season. There he is, 10 goals, 16 assists in 31 matches, an average rating that broke a record in the league. We can't re-sign him, we've got literally no money to get him. He's going back to Argentina, which means we need a new right winger to go in there. So I'll make it 3 definite starters and at least 7 or 8 bench players. We're looking at about 10 to 11 players in the off-season. Now I've offered a contract to Marco Cruz. He's at Sporting CP B's team. That's the sort of level we're going to look at. So we're going to think of elite teams. Benfica, Sporting, not Porto. And we're going to go to their B teams and see who's out of contract, the youngsters. So this is my recommendation to you. Get yourself over to the B teams of these big teams. They release loads of youngsters. Drop down to contract, sorted by expiring. You can see this is where we found Marco Cruz. He's about to get released. He's a 6-foot central midfielder who can also play wing back. What a play he's going to be. Fingers crossed we can get him. But then go up to the league table that Sporting CP B team playing, drop it down to league, and you can see all the teams down there and do the same gig. We'll check Benfica next. Go to their B team, all players, sort it by expiring, and you can see there's a clutch of players down here, 8 or 9, that are about to get released, who we could possibly jump in and get. And here's another one we've gone for, Rodrigo Marquez, also at Sporting. Now the benefit of this is that obviously the free transfers, they're young, but the sell-on value is going to be way up there. So I'm going to look to fill the gaps now with these youngsters because I've got a good nucleus of more experienced players now with Valente, Khan, Maria. Get some youngsters in that we can own, and then maybe 1 or 2 elite youngsters like we got from Liverpool. Surely that'll get us over the line. But we keep failing at this stage, so there's got to be something wrong. So what I've done, I've decided to find yet another plan B with the tactics. Now we use this one right through the season. I'm going to start working on a new one. It could be a bit of a flat version because we conceded too many goals in that championship group. So I might drag Valente back a bit, change that role somewhat, but go for a flat 3 perhaps. Got an experiment in pre-season. You'll also notice behind him we've got 2 inverted wing backs. So the plan is here, they'll jump in here, sit something like that. My 2 attacking midfielders will bomb on. And depending what role we do here, you can run the game. So whilst we're not panicking, we're just going to tweak it a bit further. I'm toying with this. We'll probably go back to the other formation, but I need a viable plan B. Oh, by the way, there's one last bit of news I think you'll be interested in. Just like we had a load of players out of contract, we had a load of staff out of contract too. So I kept most of them, but I did one big change. Not to worry, Umbo and Penza is very definitely still my chief scout. But ladies and gents, we have a new director of football, and you might recognise this guy. The icon. Diego, he's back. Okay, into season 4 we go, and we've got some big transfers to show you. All to fit into this tactic, which turns into a 2-2-6, but more of that later. Like we said we were gonna, we raided Sporting CP's B team and picked up Marco Cruz, who's going to be a fantastic player in midfield or wingback, João Asensio and Rodrigo Marquez. South America for a new backup striker in Carway from RB, and potentially the signing of the summer, Elvis Balde. He's going to play down the right wing. Yet again, 0 spent, but if you look above my head, there's some traumatic news. That's right, day 1 at Jean-Pierre Zapata. He's left us, he's gone to Amadora, who have triggered his release clause. They paid $120,000 for him. That's the biggest fee we've received yet. So what it does mean is it does help us a little bit in the £1 billion mission, but it's going to hurt us a bit in the quest to get up the leagues as well. Gutted with that one. We've acted quickly and got 2 players to replace him. One of them is Miro. Not that one, this one. This is Miro. He's 23-year-old. For an all-round striker, he's probably better than Zapata. He's probably better. He's bigger. He's better in the air. He's quicker. He's only on loan from Boa Vista, but for a season. So we toyed with this at the end of the last season, the 4-3-3. Should we use it? Well, we've used it. We're about 5 or 6 games into the season when we've gone with it, and it's working really well. Balde down this side, Khan down this side, 2 pacey wingers, striker up front, Miro, who's started really well, and then attacking midfield 3 with these 2 jumping in here, creating the cover so they can bomb on. Lovely stuff. We find ourselves in a familiar position of top of the pre-group, which means nothing to us because that's what we always do. But I've seen signs that we're looking better. We're not conceding many, we're scoring just as many. I like the way this tactic's looking. It's going to be available for patrons now. If you're in the Patreon, you've got it in your homepage. I was asked about this on another video. Have you had any job offers yet? Because you've done reasonably well. Thanks for that comment. And we have. The first one that came in was Santa Clara, but the recent one is here. Estoril Playa have offered us a job interview. And if you look at these guys, these are a top division team. So if I was doing a traditional save, I might be tempted by that, but I'm not leaving Salgueiros. There was also an offer from Aruca for a job interview as well. I'm really sorry if I've mispronounced that. And Arusa, they're also in the top division. So our stock is rising. Our squad is a bit light, especially in fullback areas. So what I'll really like to do, and this is a takeaway from this episode, is retrain defensive midfielders into inverted wing backs. For me, they are the perfect combination. Now you can see his attributes are on the way down at the minute because I've just started to retrain him. So he's been used to be a defensive midfielder, but now he's going for a complete new position. If you look at his pitch map there, it's a tiny what is going on here kind of shout, makeshift. We're going to work on that, and we're going to do that by retraining him and playing him in that position when we can. If you look at the training tab, for example, I've got him inverted wing back on defend, and instantly the attributes highlighted, you can see them, and look at them. He's a defensive midfielder, but they all work really well. He's not going to need acceleration and pace in that role because he's going to be sitting in the defensive midfield zone. Importantly, he's still good in the defensive areas such as his marking, his positioning, his decision and his concentration. I think he'll end up being a really good player. At the minute his attributes are on the way down because he's learning it, but we'll stick with it and we'll see what happens as the season progresses. It usually takes about a season to get it to be that bright green down here, so he's completely comfortable. So Hugo Morales is the starter in that position, but in games I think we're going to win and we're comfortable, I'm going to slot him in there so he can learn the role, or simply bring him on off the bench. Visiting the data hub, early stage of the season, we had a bit of worries about tackling, didn't we? Now, if you look at tackling now, we have moved our way up. So things are improving. Things are improving. We were way down here, but we are now on the way up. This is a good sign, especially when all the other metrics are pretty much where we want them to be. Yes, here we are. It's January, and guess what? Yet again, we've finished top of the first stage. We've lost 3 times this time, but I'm actually happier with the way the team's playing. We're not peaking too early. Different style of play. Very much like a lower league Wish.com version of Man City, I like to think. But we're winning, and it's into the playoffs now. That's been my team of choice. Do you know what? I haven't changed the formation once. You'll notice a lot of goals there were from Miro. Man, what a signing he's been. It's safe to say we haven't missed a pattern. Miro's come up now with 11 stats, 17 goals, with the pace of Balde on the right, who's electric, and the same goes for Tony Khan on the left. Miro's getting all sorts of goals and loads of headers, which is new this year. New kind of role for Volante this year. He's had more of a chill back, sit back role. He's more like a Rooney when he was at Man United and he dropped back into midfield in the later days. That's what Volante has done for us, linking things nicely. He has 2 runners either side of him in Cruz and Moreira. They do the legwork and he ends up sitting back. It says advanced playmaker, but you'll be surprised when these 2 come inside like this and sit into the defensive midfield zone. These 2 end up going up here and he kind of floats in between, just dictating traffic. It's beautiful. So the only big change we've done, and it's really helped, is if the opposition have a weak fullback. So they've got a weak fullback, say, down the left side. What I'll do is I'll have a look at these 2. At the minute they're on opposite sides, so Cruz is left-footed, but I like him on the right. But if they've got a weak right back, I'll move Cruz over there because he's completely left-footed to combine with Khan, and I'll change him into a Mazzala on attack, and we'll overload that side and try and punish them. That's worked really well when they've got weak fullbacks. When they don't, and it's normal, we just play normal centre midfields on attack. So halfway through the playoff situation, things are going a lot better this time. Lots better. You can see we're second, we're in the automatics, and we've only conceded 7. This has been our bugbear. We keep conceding, but we've only conceded 7. Now, you might have recognised a scorer there who was a little bit of a blast from the past. Here's the team at the minute, same formation. You can see how well they're starting to play together, but there's a couple of additions that we got on transfer deadline day, and they are great ones. The first, he's back. Miguel Contanescu. Yeah, him. He's back. And do you know what? He was a free transfer. He was just lying around free. He got released by Vizela. You remember his amazing season he had with us? But since then, he had a bit of time in Portugal too. Released, came back to us. He's played 7 times, 2 goals, 2 assists. Completely free transfer. Wages pretty decent. Happy to have him back. He's been valuable. Now, how's about this? This is Craig Nelson. I've got him in on loan for free from Manchester City. Now, I won't often say this, but a centre-back as a game changer, well, he could be it. He could be it. He's a massively, massively improved player from what we've got. He's only 19. He's going to take a little while to bed in, but he's 6'6". He's a ball-playing defender. I don't even know how we pulled this off. In fact, I'll tell you how I pulled it off. I just chanced it. I needed a centre-back. We had loads of injuries, and the other 2 weren't playing great. So I went over to Man City and I thought, give us a little look at your B team. What have you got? I literally went into their under-21 squad and noticed who was on loan, and I just put a bid in for Craig Nelson. They didn't ask for anything. And unbelievably to me, not only did they accept, but he agreed. So that's meant this side here are actually really solid now. He's next to Roman Reigns Correa as a natural left footer, 6'6". I'll also shout our boy Vieira. He's a day one of Vieira. I had no hopes for him this season. Kind of disregarded him. I couldn't find a left back at the start of the season. He's now pretty much started every match 24 times and his average rating of 7.06. He's playing really well. I need his attributes to rise. I'm going to focus a bit of his training a bit, try and get him up a standard, but still. So that stunning run down there, 5 wins on the spin. Overall, great display in terms of defence this time. Means, crew, we've finally done it. There's a big P next to our name. We're promoted. What a time, what a time. They've finally done it. Do you know what? This formation has done the trick. I did not think it'd work. Trying to be aggressive but keep the ball, lower tempo. But it has, it's done really well. This man jumping into advanced playmaker because our boy Valente got himself an injury. He's covered in superbly well. Miro. What can I say? 24 appearances, 27 goals. We must get him next season. We must. Now, we do have one more match. It's against Varzim. Now, if you look at the league table, you guessed it, they are second. So if we draw or win, we will be champions for our first trophy, if you like. That match will be at the end of the episode. So stay tuned to that to see if we can do it. For now, we need to do our squad planning thing. The way we do that, we need to remember the attribute level for next season that we're going to be working at. So next season, we're going to be in the 2nd division, one off the top tier. I'm going to be looking for key attributes in the range of 13 to 15. So for example, for a central midfielder, normally in the lower leagues, I'll just look for the free passing vision, work rate. Now, when we go up a bit more, I'm going to look for a little bit more range there between that 13 to 15. So better quality of player is needed. So as we always do at the end of the season, we'll have a look at the team and see who will be able to play in the division above. Now, I'm happy with the front three. Miro's not a certainty because he's not our player, but fingers crossed. In midfield, Cruz, great. Sambu's just filling in at the minute. So in his position will be Vasco Moreira, and he will comfortably start. Same with Valente for... So the midfield 5 and the strikers, the 5 there, no problem at all. Now, at the back, Breno's 100% staying. I think he'll be our keeper for as long as we can keep him. Left back, I love Vieira, but the next stage is going to be too much for him, so we'll take him out. Right back, he's still learning the role. That's our defensive midfielder, so he'll be on the bench. Now, centre-backs are interesting because Nelson came into the club and he was class. He built into the role. He ended up with a 7.27 and definitely helped us get them clean sheets. But we won't be able to keep him next season, so he's going to need to be replaced. Possibly Correa as well. At the minute, we'll give him a chance. So 3 starters. And looking at the bench situation, I'm happy with about 7 of them. So I'd probably like another 5 or 6 on the bench. So we're looking at between 8 and 9 new players to get in if we can keep that man, Miro as well. Tactically, I'll run with that for the first part of the season. We are going up a division, so there's going to be better teams. So we'll just weigh it up. We just need to survive next season. So we're going to start with that. Now, the other thing we need to do is tie some players down. For example, Breno, who I'm convinced is a top flight goalkeeper in the making. His contract runs out at the end of next season, but also in his contract details, you can see his minimum fee release clause is only 200,000. I need to ump that at least double to scare some teams off because he is elite. There's about 4 or 5 players like that we need to re-sign. Anyway, we'll think about that later. For now, it's time to go against Varzim and see if we can claim this title. Here we are then. It's a new league, which brings new kit, and of course that brand new spanking, beautiful 8,000-seater new stadium. Now many people, including myself, think we brought Diego Volante back just as purely a romantic thing, right? Not so. He came up trumps when I asked him about a player. I went to the transfer screen, I asked my director of football, Diego Volante, suggest me some targets, namely a free transfer striker. And what he came up with was Davy Selk, a 32-year-old German. I've seen this guy around in previous FMs. He's been around the Bundesliga for ages. He's just going to be a bit of a class act at this level. 6'5", mentals for days, physical player. He's been a decent scorer at Bundesliga level with double figures here and there. So I think at this level, he could be a bit of a bargain. So a real nice clutch of players down here. Miguel Alves from Sporting's B team. Ivan Pavlic from the high division. Looks like a really good all-round midfielder, him. Vasco Oliveira's in that centre-back. He's got the right attribute range. Remember that attribute range? Now check out Luca Fletcher. He's an Englishman. I didn't want to bring too many Englishmen in, but I couldn't resist this one. He's formerly of Man City. Finishing's there, off the ball's there. Really quick and great in the air at 6'2". There's Davy Selk. Now under him, we've gone back to South America for Ian Lucas. The main reason I went for him was because he's a Brazilian called Ian. But other than that, he's 6'1". He's only 24. Sell-on value could be there. Now, probably my star signing is Hugo Felix from Benfica's B team. Didn't make the breakthrough. They released him. He's 23. Attributes for days. He's going to be like the heir apparent to Valente. So he's going to be his apprentice, if you like. Then on stream, someone told me this. I don't know why I didn't put 2 and 2 together, but told me this on stream and it blew my mind. We go to information. Down here. His brother, Tony João Felix. The plan is, in 4 or 5 years, let's reunite them at Salgueiros. So the tactic is going to be the same as last season's because it did so well. And I want to give most of the players that got us up a chance because I do think most of them are good enough. The only changes in there has been the centre-back because he's taken the place of the player we lost on loan. Same deal for the striker. Selke goes up front instead of Miro. So this was a bit of a mad pre-season. I was lining up, got my friendlies ready. We had a decent early big win. But then, after just one pre-season friendly, we were straight into the League Cup. It was literally right in the start of July. We got through the first round against Vizela, but unfortunately got knocked out in the second phase, away to Boa Vista, local rivals, but they are a top division team, and we put up a good fight. So we're all set for a big season here. The media predictions got us 13th. I think we're going to finish 13th out of the 18, and do you know what? I would snap their hands off for that. A nice season of consolidation. That'd be lovely. Into the first games of the season now. We had a bit of a dream start. 52 minutes gone against Lyra, in it goes, and Seke scored on his debut. However, the rise up is starting to bite us already because they came back at us, And we lost our first game in our new stadium 3-1. Second game of the season, 93rd minute. Vizela steal it, and I mean steal it, we battered them. So this is a bit of a new situation for us. We're usually dominating at the start of the season, but now 2 losses out of 2 and we've conceded 6. No need to panic. Next home match, Fletcher got off the mark. Bang. A belting 4-0 win. However, that was followed up by a 4-1 defeat at home. Then, on paper, a really tough-looking away game to Maritimo. I'm not quite sure what happened, but we scored 5. And then in our next match at home to Santa Clara, we scored another 5. And then got battered. And immediately got our revenge in the cup. This team is just blowing my mind. Right, balmy start to the season. We win, we lose, we win, we lose. There's goals all over the place. I can't keep track. And we're randomly into the Taca de Portugal 4th round. In the league, we're sitting 14th. It's not looking great. We'd scored 24 times in 11 matches, which is fantastic. But we'd also conceded 25, which is not good. This led to an epic deadline day. With the team struggling in defence a bit, I somehow managed to get Nelson back on loan from Man City, costing around £2 a week, but still, what a result. And while I was there, in the Man City under-21s, I grabbed Harrison Parker as well, another centre-back. So I managed to do that on deadline day, and what a difference that's going to make. I've got two really good centre-backs now. They are really young and raw, but we needed a change conceding too many goals. But when you look at that team, you can see why we concede goals, can't you? At the end of the day, we've got 3 attacking midfielders there, 2 central midfielders on attack and an advanced playmaker, although he does drop deep thanks to the whole position, but it's still really attacking. Now, if you look a bit further back, both of my fullbacks, they are literally midfielders. João has been retrained and he's now pretty much a natural in that position. In Cruz, it was always the plan for him to play in that position. Came in as a midfielder, but now I've got really good midfielders. He drops back. So we've basically got 2 midfielders playing fullback. So in essence, in that entire team, I've got 2 defenders. So look, we're in a bad run in the league, but check it out. Check out our next 3 matches, will you? Have a little look at that. Next up is the first derby of this save. It's FC Porto B team in the league. But after that, wouldn't you just know it, in the Taca de Portugal 4th round, we've only gone and drawn FC Porto. If we survive that somehow, we've then got to play SL Benfica B. We've got 3 of the biggest matches coming up and we're on our worst run since we started this entire career. So a rough few games, but that Benfica draw actually meant we'd not won in the league in 8. Definitely our worst run since we started this save, but it was a bit of a building block. Now I looked at the data hub and there was some things that we could change to help things. So look at this. This was the XG table a couple of matches ago, and you can see position 14th, expected points position that we should have got with chances missed, etc. 5th. So something wasn't quite right. We're creating loads of chances, we just weren't finishing them off and leaking too many. So I had 2 big things to address there. The fact that we're not scoring goals even though we should be, and the fact we conceded too many. Now the goal scoring thing, I had a little look at it and I've got an advanced forward there in Fletcher. Wingers either side, central midfielders bombing on. There's loads of movement around him, so then I thought to myself, why am I asking him to move all over the place? So all I've done is simply I've changed him to a poacher. Now the other thing I've done, I don't want to get rid of this attacking flow we've got with these 3. I've got every confidence in these 2 jumping into there like that, sorting it out. So the other thing I changed was a team instruction. Just to maintain our shape when we're out of possession, I'll just pop these 2 back there. This is the initial one, and this is now. Very, very slight changes. In fact, the only changes are poacher from advanced forward, and out of possession, I've dropped the press. I've dropped it right back now, so we don't press all over the place getting out of position. What I was seeing was this man was chasing the ball everywhere, trying to press it. Now we get back into shape, and it's helped with this run of results on both ends of the pitch. So we just won 2 5-goal wins on the spin, and then this one against a team who are 3rd in the league. We're focusing through the middle. Look at this football. Absolute thumping. Those little changes have meant that the squad have just burst into life. From 8 without a win till 6 without defeat. We're sitting mid-table now. It looks a lot more comfy with 24 points. This is the other area I like to look at when I'm conceding an absolute ton of goals. I go to conceding like that. I'll break it down for the last 10 matches or so. And what I saw from assists was the through balls were killing us. They were killing us. So that contributed to me adding trap outside to force people out, and that less pressing to get us back in shape. Now, terrible news. Francis Tony Khan, he's out for the season. Snapped his cruciate ligament Ruthlessly, I acted quickly thanks to Umbo and Penza again coming up trumps with Samuel Bamba. Now his pedigree is, not only does he hit the attribute range we're looking for, but his former club was Dortmund, and you know their pedigree for bringing up talents. High hopes for him. He's just joined. He's already started pretty well. So about halfway gone. Now my plan is, if we get safe at some point, then I'm going to think about what am I going to do for next season. If I'm going to change the tactic, and if I'm going to do that, I'm going to bring it in with about 10 matches to go. It's also January in game, so it's time to create a nice recruitment focus in which we're going to eye up contract status. I'm going to look for expiring in 6 months' time, because with our finances, next season it's going to be free transfers again. Hugo is on it, and so are the team. We are now 10 matches unbeaten. So, brother of João Felix, Hugo, absolutely on it. Last 5 matches, 4 goals, 2 assists, 7.88. Them little tweaks we made to the tactic continue to hold up, despite the fact the 2 centre-backs who play at Man City and they're basically roommates hate each other. We're nicely sat in 11th now, but if you look a bit closer, right, 3rd is only 5 points off us now. This league is super tight. I was going to experiment with the tactic, but not yet. Now, it is deadline day, and I've just rejected an awful offer from Augsburg from Marco Cruz at 215,000. Now, he does not have a release clause, so I can play hardball here. But if you look a couple of tabs up, they're coming back. So after I rejected that move, he wasn't happy, and we agreed that if we get an offer of 1.3 million, we'll accept it. So now, Augsburg, it's over to you, and 475. Not a bad offer, especially when you consider our long-term goal. But I just think at 23 years old, I think we can hold out for more than 500,000. So I'm going to swiftly reject that, and Marco can't argue. I guess it's a good sign that big top division teams are coming for our players. They're coming for me as manager, and now they're coming for the players. Now we're keeping Marco Cruz, and the tactic's kind of working. I want to make it better. How can we do that? We can make our players better by chucking in some traits. So this is something I'd normally do in pre-season, but to be totally honest with you, I kind of forgot. And now I've assessed my players, I know who I want to start developing a bit further. We'll start with Cruz. He's going to be staying with us for a while. So what I've done, I've gone to training, and you can see I've asked to go for killer balls often. He's got the passing, he's got the vision, and from that deep area he's going to be in the pitch in the inverted wingback role, that could be a nice trait. Striker Luca Fletcher, who is smashing the goals in, by the way. Now you look at it, he's got finishing at 15, acceleration and pace, no traits. So up to his development, and we've got likes to try to beat offside trap, which for a striker like him would be perfect. We didn't stop there. Elvis Balde, who I expect to be on the right hand side for many seasons to come, he provides us width, so I've asked him to hug that touchline. How about Constantinescu? Now listen, his average rating of 7.46 is actually the best in the league at the minute. He's less of a winger. I see him more eventually coming inside, so I've got him to come deep to get the ball. I see him like a bit of a playmaker. The main man, Felix, he's a class above. Get the ball to your feet, my lad. So like I said, I normally do that in pre-season, but the fact that for me this is a bit of a foundation season to attack next season now seems like a perfect time, and I should have it by the start of next season. Other than the Marco Cruz bid, a nice quiet transfer deadline day with just a fringe player leaving on a free transfer. I told you, it's not just the players that I wanted. This is Rayo Vallecano. A quick look at them and we'll see that they are actually in La Liga. They are struggling, down in 18th. It's going to be a thanks but no thanks for that one. So back to the league, we're excited for the run to continue. We're absolutely flying, remember. 10 undefeated. In the 10th minute he did that. He nearly killed the man. I mean, what is he thinking? 80 minutes with 10 men, we lose that game 4-2. Proved to be an absolute momentum killer. We lost the next one. And the next one. I know, the corners, right? The corners. And in the 90th minute, we were denied the win in the next one, meaning we hadn't won in 4. Undefeated in 10, can't win in 4. Mate. Total momentum killer. That's probably happened to you a load as well. What we had to do for the next match against Chavez, we got a 3-2 win, and we absolutely ground it out. When you go into a bad one like that, you've just got to grind a win out, I think, and we've got it back into some sort of form. But those glimmer of hopes that we had of a potential sneaky third place finish have kind of gone now. We're on 41 points and third place is 52, so 11 points to get back in 8 matches is probably not going to happen. So we're going to experiment now till the end of the season to try and see if we can get a plan in place to season 6. So I'll have a look at new tactics in a minute, but just to let you know that we are in financial peril. 2.5 million in debt now. Okay, 2.5 million in debt, right? Now let me show you this. If I type in takeover, okay, top corner, take over. Ready? This has been the season. Look down this side. So 13th of March, could be close, on the rocks. Could be close, on the rocks. And yet again, for the last 6 games, we did have an experiment. We tried a little Christmas tree, and we also tried a bit of a 4-2-4. However, that Derby Day demolition of Porto was the only bright spot, and we didn't really find our flow. Back to the drawing board. So I'm going to disregard those. I just didn't feel right. The team didn't look right playing it. So what I'll probably do is we'll have a look at the end of the season how we can improve the base tactic, because it was absolutely flying at one point and just got derailed by that red card. So we'll probably just work on that and see how we can improve it. But big news. So it actually happened. We've been taken over. So we've got a new owner now. Antonio's gone, and this is our new owner. Gives a little message there. There were no plans to change the transfer policy, which, do you know what, I'm not that mad about. I didn't want a big sugar daddy, so to speak. But what he has done is he's wiped the debt. So now we're comfortable. So hopefully that doesn't affect things too much. Club vision's kind of stayed the same. He wanted to become an established League Portugal 2 team. And if you look through the seasons, he's pretty realistic. Pretty realistic. So touch wood, looks like we've got ourselves a sensible owner. Okay, our first season in Liga 2 is over. We finished 10th, so top 10. It's not quite halfway because there's only 18 teams in the league, but I'm quite happy with that, especially the way we started, but also a bit disappointed because we really picked up a bit of steam. Now, if you look a bit closer at it, we finished 10th. 70 goals, which is more than 2 a match, by the way, but we also conceded 60, and we need to sort that out, otherwise we're never getting promoted. So now thoughts turn to season 6 planning, how we can improve his tactic and improve that position. Now, we have got some future transfers incoming. Miro, do you remember him? The goal machine is coming on a free transfer. So that scouting for contract expiring, Miro's on the way. There's a striker who's going to be great backup. We've got Noah Cooper, who's going to be backup to Edison. I'm always worried about Breno, someone coming in for him. So there's a Jamaican goalkeeper on his way. And we've got ourselves an absolute unit of a centre-back if I just need to throw someone on to defend some headers. Rafa Fernandez incoming, all of them free. So we scored 70, but we conceded 60. And the reason I don't want to change the formation is if you look above my head there, this is the formations we've faced in our previous 50 matches. And look at the clear cut chances column. We are fantastic on all of them other than 4-4-2 diamond. So it's just a case of getting the chances and keeping them out, and we're going to be absolutely fine. Now the next thing to look at is conceded. We hit this tab here. We can see the last 10 matches, but I'm not interested in that. I'm going to go big time. The last 40 matches, so that's going to cover the whole season. We'll go to the assists tab. Now you can see here, there's one massive outlier there, isn't there? 29 assists by through ball. 29. So what that means is when we're giving the ball away, there's too much room in this sort of pocket there. So there's a few things we can do here. I'm going to have a little think about it. Obviously, the biggest one, the most obvious one, is to change one of these roles to the sit a bit more. But I don't want to lose any of the attacking edge. So whether it's going to be defensive line, a role change in the defenders, maybe a stopper. Lots to think about. Now this is a nice positive thing. New 2-year contract from our new board. Let's go. Easy decisions here. 2 years. No problems. So with the faith of a new contract, I thought now's the perfect time to ask for that new coaching course, because at the minute I'm stuck on Continental B. And despite being in the off season with no training, they have refused our coaching course yet again. Which, when you look at our overall record of 176 games played with a win percentage of 54%, I'm a little bit annoyed, I won't lie. We all agree that I need to change something. Something probably in these midfield areas, because despite the beautiful link-ups, the way they're all enjoying having dinner with each other, the chemistry, we are just conceding too many through balls. So these guys are just not doing enough of the dirty stuff. So we love Volante. At this level, beautiful creative player. But in midfield, you need a bit of steel. So I thought, let's have a look at each midfielder and have a look at their defending how it's gone through the season. So this is Volante's defensive output as a midfielder. You can see the blue is his output and the white is the average. The only thing he does more than anyone else is foul, probably because he's not great at tackling. If you look, his interceptions per 90 minutes is down. Tackles win ratio is actually not that bad, but the attempted's not there. The clearances aren't there. There's no blocks going on. This is where the problems kind of stem. We'll have a look at the other two mainstays in midfield. Hugo Felix, probably even worse, actually. Probably even worse. He's getting no clearances. He's not getting back, basically. He's not winning any headers in that midfield area. He's not attempting any tackles, and he's not doing many interceptions either. Now, probably the most rounded of the midfielders is Vasco Moreira, and he is a little better. In fact, his tackles attempted is up there. He's doing most of that work. His ratio 1 is decent, but again, not many interceptions because he's in that advanced role, and clearances non-existent. Headers a little bit better, but still lacking overall. Now look, that's not their primary goal. They are creative players, so they're not expecting themselves to come back and defend. But when we don't have a midfielder of that type in there, we need a bit more. Basically, Felix and Valente offer nothing in defending situations. This is Ian. He comes on in defensive midfield, more like a defensive playmaker rather than Valente when Valente gets tired. And you can see the difference overall. He just does a little bit more. He's not on the pitch long, so he's not going to attempt as many tackles, but interceptions are there. And blocks are there. He's a bit more defensive. It's a bit of food for thought. I'm going to lock down that tactic a bit later on. I'm going to lock it down and we're going to get set for Season 6. For now, we need to rebuild this squad and decide what players are going to stay for next season. As we always do, we'll take a look at the starting 11 here and we're going to remove players that will not be involved next season to give us a nice reminder and stay fresh in our head of the type of players we're going to have to find. Now, we'll start from the back. Breno is outstanding. One of the best goalkeepers in the league. Now, the two centre-backs, we have a problem here, because they're both from Man City, both on loan, both will not extend, so we're going to have to remove both from position. We know about the qualities of Marco Cruz, he stays. Now on the other side, João Asensio has been okay, but if we think about our levels, our attribute levels, he's right on the border, so I'm going to see if I can find a slightly better player than João. So I'm going to remove him and place him on the bench. Felix and Moreira, great players, they stay in midfield. On wide, we've got Balde and Constantinescu, he's going to rotate with hopefully a return in Tony Khan. No need to change there. And Fletcher up front scored 12 goals in the league, 14 overall. His value is starting to rocket. His attributes on the way up. He's only 21. Outstanding. He's definitely our starting striker next season. Which means now we're looking at something like 4 players for the starting 11. And the bench, we're going to improve that as well. But 4 players from the starting 11 is not too bad for a mini rebuild, is it? In fact, if you look at the bench, I've got 12 players there I'm happy to keep hold of there. It's 12 players. So that's not bad. And bear in mind, we've got a couple of players coming in. So we don't have to do as much transfer business. We can really focus in on the starting 11. And there are the 3 players coming in. The keeper in Noah Cooper, backup Rafael Fernandez, defender, which will probably start him, and Miro as the rotational striker with Fletcher. Pre-season friendlies are underway and some decent transfer business, again spending 0. First off, we had to get Selke off our wage bill. A really good player, but he was earning £6,000 a week. We managed to cash in for about £25,000. But more importantly, who's came into the club? We knew about Fernandez coming in on a free transfer for centre-back. Miro up front will replace Selke in that rotation with Fletcher. And Noah Cooper, who's a very good backup to Breno. How about Kevin Ortiz? Formerly of Bournemouth, if you look at his mentals, you can see why I've bought him. Aggression, bravery, leadership, teamwork, work rate, determination. He's a little bit nasty. Mateus Serrara is a Brazilian in on loan from Santa Clara. I can't believe they let us have him. Now he's a midfielder, but for me, he's perfect at playing that inverted wing-back role. He's a little upgrade. He's going to start on the right. Tedan Menji is a centre-back, formerly of Manchester United, Luton. Spent some time in Africa. We've brought him back. Nice signing. He'll start at centre-back. Now, a sneaky little signing that Unboy and Penza found me. From the Spanish lower divisions, a free transfer. This is Antonio Capellas. Now, he looks like Andrea Pirlo, and when you look at his attributes, he kind of mimics him as well, with the passing, with the technique, decent vision, decisions. He's also quite a big player at 6'1", going to be good in defensive situations. This guy at 20 years old could be something special. So I'm really happy with the summer rebuild. I've got some decent players now, and I've slotted them into the team, and that's where the starting 11 will probably look. You can see the 2 new centre-backs. We go through centre-backs like crazy. I'm hoping these 2 will stay a bit and be a bit of a mainstay. We do have a backup if we need it. in on loan from Serbian football in the amazingly named Cornelius van der Heyden. He's going to be back up until they recall him. But we do have 2 coming in January from South America. And that's vital because our long-term goal of generating money and replacing with South American players, I feel like these 2 can do a bit of both. Last season, we got some players late on. We learned that you can get players late on. Well, these guys are coming in January, so they'll be primed for the second half of the season. 2 centre-backs, both from Brazilian football. First one is Cal Luiz. Now, he's only 22. High hopes for him. We'll give him a face. And the second one is Chao Amaral. Again, 24 years old, but he looks like he could just walk straight into the team. So this was all about getting a tactic that didn't stifle our creative flow and the goals, but getting a bit more sturdy at the back. And this is what we're going to go with for Season 6. Now, there are very slight changes, but there are some changes that could be significant. Now, if we look down at the back first, I'm going to adopt a cover centre-back with a no-nonsense centre-back because that will tie in with a new, higher defensive line. We're going to push up a little bit more and squeeze the space. That should be helped by the fact that I'm having an inverted fullback rather than a wing-back on one side, so he won't go as far up. And on the other side, my inverted wing-back will drop in there and it'll be next to and joined by our new more defensive player, a defensive deep-lying playmaker in Capellas. I say defensive because quite often I might drop him to defend, but he's going to sit in there rather than bomb on a bit like the old advanced playmaker did. There's also a slight change to the midfielders. I'm going to ask Felix to go into a Mazzala role. May change that, but early days I'm going to try it. And Maria, instead of being on attack, I'm just going to ask him to drop to support so he can help out a little bit more in defence because he is good at that, a good all-round midfielder. Other key changes in transition. We're going to lose the counter press. When we get the ball, we're going to drop into a regroup, get ourselves back into position. Specifically, these 3 midfielders. I felt like when we had counter press on, they were chasing the ball, and that's where some gaps were getting left. So we're going to combine the regroup with the higher defensive line, with the change of roles in midfield. I'm hoping that'll do the business. I used pre-season to try a load of different things. There's a load of different results there. You can see the League Cup against Firenze. They are the favourites for the league. So to get beat 4-3 was not a disaster, and I hadn't settled on a formation yet. As we've gone down, there's been some decent performances. But I'm kind of set on this. One change we can do is, if this isn't working with a midfield playmaker, we can always bring on our destroyer and go, here he is, Kevin Ortiz. We can always bring him on and get a defensive midfielder in. Or if we're trying to hold on to a lead, I'm going to explore with a more traditional 4-3-3 and drop him in there and try an anchorman role, maybe. What I do have though, and which is why I'm going to go for a higher defensive line with a cover defender, is I've got 2 centre-backs who are pretty pacey. He's got acceleration and pace of 14 and 15, and Fernandez has got a top-line pace of 14 as well. So I think it's worth a shot. While sticking with our principles of the lower tempo passing football. So that was our first clutch of games. So far, so good. Promotion favourites Firenze just came and got absolutely put to the sword. Look at our XG, look at our possession. We even missed a penalty. Really good so far. So there's the start to the season, our first 5 matches. Not bad at all, not bad. Has us sitting second, long way to go, but the best thing is we're not conceding an absolute ton of goals. They're still going in, but it looks a bit more solid. First 5 matches, we've scored 12, conceded 6. If that carries on, I'd be more than happy. Because don't forget, last season we conceded 60. So it's better. That's the way we're going to set the team out. I like the counter regroup combo. I like the slower tempo that we've done right the way through. I've started the youngster in all 5 matches. I wasn't going to, but I just think he looks class. Now I've started his training as well. The things he's going down in are his penalties, free kicks and his corners. I'm not interested in that anyway. I don't need him taking them. Now his training, we've got him doing agility and balance just to make him a more all-round player. sticking to that deep line playmaker role. I'm telling you, it's Andrea Pirlo Mark II with the hair. And I will point out that now Sporting got promoted last season, so now we have 4 B teams in this league. And remember, those 4 B teams cannot get promoted. So that basically means we're in a little mini league of 14 because the 4 can't go up. Yeah, so that good start to the season, yeah, it's kind of backfired a bit. As you can see there, the good start to the season was kind of squashed by a really iffy patch here. Something wasn't quite right. But thankfully, our boy Capellas, one for the future, is now very much one for the now. Thanks to this man, I changed the formation. Again, I know. And that meant we started to piece together some decent results with Capellas in his new role. It kind of unleashed a bit more attacking force. So after that latest tweak, we've had a decent run of results now. I'll show you the latest tweak to the tactic, and it makes us go into somewhat of a 3-2-5. This Salgueiros ride has been a bit of a journey because we've already had a tactic that went into a 2-2-6, and not forgetting the original 2-3-5. That's right, we've done the 2-2-6, we've done the 2-3-5. How about the 3-2-5? So what happens is we've got ourselves a halfback now. It looks like a traditional 4-3-3, but in motion. Capellas drops in here all the time, and these two jump in here like this, and with these two bombing on, that's the way the team looks at the minute. It's quite nice. So hopefully you can see it here. We've got the ball now, and look how deep our halfback Capellas drops. So deep. I've got a player instruction of take more risks because he's got a good passing brain, but you can see there, that's the centre backs. In between him we have Capellas, so we've got centre back 1, centre back 2, half back, and then in front of them there's our 2 full backs, which is why we always want our full backs to be midfielders, and in front of those you've got the 5 across the front. Different take on what we've been doing, and it's working quite well. So Capellas has gone from being our new Pirlo to our new Rodri, and he's got the physicals to match up, to be honest, so we might have something here. So despite having a defensive midfielder now, it's actually more of an aggressive tactic, because whenever a halfback drops back in there, it encourages the wing back to go up further. So by dropping him back, I've actually dropped these two to support from defence. So they're a bit more aggressive, believe it or not. With the decent form in the league came some more job offers. How about Girona from La Liga? And even Brentford from the Premier League. It's because we're sat in 3rd position at the minute, and there's only like 13 matches to go, something like that. Defensively, we've been way better. We've conceded 28 and 21, but remember last season we conceded 60, and in this league nobody keeps clean sheets. You can see the best defensive record is 22, for example, but we're still banging goals in. We're still the top goal scorers in the league with that half-back tactic. And remember last season how we struggled with defending on midfielders? Well, Capellas is absolutely wiping the floor with that. And Moreira's have improved as well. He's only really lacking on headers, but other than that, everything else, much better. So that's working really well. Everything was rosy, but you might notice something if you look closely at that team. Yeah, so this happened. Our biggest sale yet, 2.3 million, rising to 3 million. Breno, our Edison, is gone. The general manager decided it was too good to refuse. And to be fair, it was more than his release clause. But what that means is it's our first real big dent in the long-term goal. Now, we are rising through the league steady away, but there's that big clause. Sell players when clauses are hit, and he went over his clause, which means the mission to get a net transfer profit of 1 billion, the calculator is back. So let's get 1 billion in there. How many zeros is it again? That's 1 million, 10, 100. There's a billion. And we're going to take off our value we have now, which is a total transfer income of 2.6 million, thanks to that 2.3 million for Breno. So we're going to take that off to 6. There it is, which means our running total is 997,400,000. So let's park that for a while and concentrate on the goals we can control at the minute, and that's getting promoted. So Breno's gone, and believe it or not, because of these finances are right there and the wage budget, we can't do a thing. They've actually slashed the wage budget, so we're now 8,000 over it. I could not bring in anybody to replace Breno. So that summer transfer that we talked about, Cooper, the goalkeeper, who's now got a face, it proves to be absolutely vital because he is now the number 1 to the end of the season, and he has to be. If we compare him with Breno, he's not miles off. He's not miles off. He's really comparable in a lot of aspects. He's just not quite there in terms of shot stopping. So reflexes, things like that. Breno's way ahead of him. And you look at the overall value now, Breno's has just gone way up. But Cooper, he's only young. He's only 22. He's not a bad backup. Let's see what he can do. And look, he's got a face now, so we love him. Welcome in, Noah. Now, unfortunately, the 5 games after Breno left us, we only won 1 of them. We did recover to beat top of the table Rio, 3-1 though, that did help. And we're coming back into it now with only 5 matches left to go. And look how tight it is. We can see we're in 4th position now. Remember, top 3, top 2 go up. 3rd place goes into a playoff. We don't really want that because that's against a team from the top division. But there's only 3 points between that top 4. Now, we've actually got a decent run in. We don't play any of the teams above us. So, fingers crossed. We're getting to this run in now. We're going to try our best to get up, but... So we win our next 3, which means we won 4 in a row and 5 out of 6. We've nudged ourselves into 2nd, but still that top 3 is separated by 3 points. Yeah, this is so tight now. It's ridiculous. It's so tight. We could actually finish top or we could finish 4th. The tactics holding up. There's been a couple of changes to roles, none to team instructions, but you can see I've dropped one of the central midfielders to box, a bit more solid. And when this man plays, I've got him as an advanced playmaker just to play them through balls that he might have seen. A couple of standouts has been Bamba. You can pick this guy up from Dortmund's 2nd team and he's just really coming to his own now. 9 assists, 8 goals. And just like last season, Luca Fletcher's banging him in. He's banging him in. He's got 21 in 29. We're going to be hard to keep hold of him unless we get promoted. So, 2 games to get up. Let's do it. One game to go, nothing's changed. But we are sitting top of the league now. What is going on? But we can still finish as low as 4th. So we can either finish champions or we can finish 4th. 1 game to go. Now luckily for us, we play Amora at home, who are 15th. But they need a win to stay in the league. What a run at the end of the season. 7 wins out of 8. We took it down by the slimmest of margins. 65 points, 64, 63 and 60 for 4th place. But what a result. That is top scorers in the league. Defensively, pretty decent as well. We're in the top division. I've literally just done it now and I haven't even read through these stories here. So these are all the big ups. Now this is the big one here. The board are about to set our budget for next season. Now we've never had a budget throughout. We haven't spent a penny. 280,000 and 72 grand a week. But this bit's pretty cool, isn't it? Iconic. So, 48-year-old is already spoken in the same breath as the likes of Salgueiros. Icons, Carlos Manuel and Zoran Flipovic. Yeah, that's pretty cool. We've won the championship. Our 2nd season in it, 10th for the first time. Now we're up. I do think it's a little bit too early. I'm about to look at this squad now and decide who's going to be in it for next season. Thoughts? I will shout out Bamba. I think he can do something in that upper league. He's only 25. Got to give Fletcher a go. Obviously, Hugo's going to be in there, and Vasco, I cannot let him not do it. He's been up with us right through the leagues. Everywhere else, I don't know. There's going to be some major surgery needs to be done, and we don't have a lot of money to do it with. But yeah, mission accomplished. Now we move on to the big time.